Welcome to the Diva Details. Welcome to the Diva Details, where bold, confident women embrace life unapologetically. From love and sex to wellness and reinvention, we keep it raw, real, and powerful. No filters, no limits. Just fearless conversations to help you thrive. Let's dive in with Diva Mia.
Well, hello. This is Diva Mia, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about hormones. I got a lot of feedback after our last podcast, and people wanted to know more about hormones, what type of hormones they should be taking, and how it affects their overall body, not just their sexual health. We're going to dive right in. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about different ways you can actually take hormones. There are many different ways to get hormones into your body. I think a lot of people are afraid of taking hormones because they think they have to have an injection. But there are pills that you can take. There's creams, which are becoming very popular, especially since it has a lower impact on your liver. There's injections, and then there's a thing called a little pellet that you can have injected into your hip. It is a little painful, so if you're risk averse from pain, I wouldn't recommend the pellet. But you can do multiple different ways of getting hormones into your body. So here's the thing. If you want to live a long life and have really good longevity, hormones are the way to go because hormones are going to impact every part of your body. It's going to impact your mind. It's going to impact your joints, your weight. If you're having difficulty losing weight, it may be a hormonal issue. And women over 40, as soon as you hit perimenopause, they're recommending now people as soon as they hit 40 to start looking at possibly doing hormones. Because the other thing is you don't want your lack of libido to kill your marriage. And a lot of women lose their libido during perimenopause and menopause. And if that happens to you, that could definitely impact your entire life. And you don't want hormones to change things that you don't want to have changed. Desire is going to change over time. Just realize that. And your arousal will change. Your orgasm will change. You may not get as wet if your hormones are not balanced. And the comfort around sex may change as well. But that doesn't mean your sex life is over. What you need to know is that if you fix the hormones in the right way, you may have more arousal. You may have more sex. You may enjoy it even more because sex after 40 is amazing. And women, I'm here to tell you, my sex after 40, my sex after 50 has been freaking amazing. You don't have to worry about loss of desire because that will help. Now, there's also a thing called an O shot. If you're having lack of arousal or desire or your orgasms are not functioning the way they used to, there's also a thing called a no shot that you can do once in a while, depending on your needs. That helps with that as well. There's lots of modalities out there now, ladies, that will help you get to the point you need to rebalance yourself. It's not just sexual health because, vaginal dryness is painful whether or not you're having sex or not. And it's painful on a daily basis. You're also going to not have as much emotional connection. If you're having emotional issues or you're sad or you're depressed, it may very well be your hormones. If you're feeling lost or that you don't know what you're doing, brain fog, all that stuff can be hormones. Don't let anyone shame you. Find the problem and root out the problem. Because if you've had significant changes over the last few years of the way you feel and the way you behave, it very well may be hormones. It's not a failure to go on hormones because a lot of people are on it. Hormones, and here's the other thing, is we have so much stress. We take on so much with our lives. All that stress is not good for our hormones either. So the extra cortisol may help you gain weight. And then if you're losing some of your other hormones, you may not be able to lose the weight. So realize that I know a lot of people are going on GLP-1s. And the thing is that if you go on GLP-1s, that's great. But what if the only issue you had was hormonal? Because some people going on GLP-1s are gaining weight back after. So if you want to avoid that situation, maybe look into your hormones first. Because if your hormones are broken, you get off the weight loss drug, you're going to gain the weight back anyway. It's just a transitioning time. You need to learn how to modify your transition. But there's a lot going on. A lot of people have a lot of myths around hormones, and I think you really need to talk to a doctor. I think you need to talk to a functional medicine person. You need to be empowered to advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself because the reality is most of the doctors out there including like the OBGYNs, they don't know hormones like some functional medicine doctors. Someone that specializes in doing hormones may be better than your OBGYN, and a lot of people go to the regular doctor to get on hormones, and they don't get it done right because you have to test so many different hormones in order to balance correctly. And it's a process, and you're going to have to get it rechecked and rechecked all the time. And yes, it's something you're going to have to be on for the rest of your life. But I'd rather be on hormones and get my hormones checked than be on some antidepressants or be on some other type of, I don't know, a statin or high blood pressure. And really all it was related to is those things mask the symptoms. I'd rather fix the root problem. So look at your hormones first because it usually is a root problem to a lot of other problems. And men, don't blame your wife if she's not as attracted to you right now. If she doesn't desire you as much, maybe you need to look in fixing her hormones. And you may have issues too. Men, you may have erectile dysfunction. Men need to be on hormones as well, testosterone. I don't know any men that are after 50 right now that aren't on some form of testosterone because it is something that is needed by men. Or they can't function down there anymore, ladies. If their testosterone is low, they're not going to be able to function. And their sex drive is going to go down. Their muscle mass is going to start to waste away. They're going to get moody, okay? So just realize hormones are important for men as well. And then think of the distractions that are affecting you. If your desire is off and your hormones are balanced, do you have too much cortisol? Are you not interested anymore? Part of arousal is physical blood flow down there as well as lubrication. And if our hormones are off, we're not going to get that lubrication. And our sensitivity down there may change as well. So just realize that. And then orgasms are not just, for us, it's not just hormonal. It's not just sense. It's also mental. We focus so much on hormones, but you also have to be mentally able. And if you're depressed or if you're sad or if you have brain fog, you may not be in the mood. The orgasms may not come. Realize hormones can fix some of this as well. Realize just because you don't want sex all the time or spontaneously, that doesn't mean something's wrong with you. When we're in midlife, we got a lot going on. We got a lot going on in our minds. We may have kids going off to college. We may have changes to our bodies that we're trying to fix. So just realize as midlife comes, desire may go up and down. The thing is you need to figure out what the root problem is. And if it's hormones, get it fixed because it's an easy fix. And there's a myth out there that women should want sex the same way forever. When the change happens, some women want it more. Some women want it less. But it's up to you how much you want it. And you get to push or have sex as often as you want. Men don't always want sex either, just so you know. I have been in a relationship where I wanted sex way more than the man I was with, and it happens. And when that happens, you're like, wow, men don't want sex as much as you think, because my desire was way higher than his. So realize that men don't always want sex, and sometimes when you see that, you're like, oh, maybe their testosterone's off. So think of that too, ladies. Sometimes you may be balanced, but your partner is not. So don't blame him or shame him either. Maybe he needs to talk to a hormone specialist as well. And we may crave sex more. We may crave sex less. It depends on the person. Everyone's different. And arousal may be different as well. But just because your hormones are imbalanced doesn't mean your desire is gone forever. It's just misunderstood. It will come back. You will be able to reignite your passion and it will come back eventually. You just got to work on you for now. So let's talk specifically about the different types of hormones. Let's start with estrogen. So estrogen is going to maintain your vaginal tissue thickness. It's going to offer lubrication, blood flow, elasticity. When estrogen drops, you get really dry. And I actually had this problem where I got dry and it was hard to walk because I would get chafed. It was so dry. And it's painful. It's painful with penetration. It can be painful just walking around. It also reduces your sensitivities. If you are dry, you're going to have less orgasms and you may have more UTIs. Estrogen is crucial to make sure everything flows down there easily and is lubricated. So make sure that your estrogen is balanced. Your progesterone is important for sleep. And a lot of times in our 40s and 50s, we're so busy doing everything, we get exhausted and we don't sleep well. So make sure you're taking progesterone at night. I like progesterone in a cream. Some people take it in pill form, but it does help regulate your mood because what happens is if you sleep better, you're going to be in a better mood as well. But if you have low progesterone, you're going to have anxiety. You're going to be irritable. So if you if you're complaining a lot or mad a lot, maybe it's time to go look at progesterone. And if your libido's low, it's probably progesterone. I sometimes I think that the people out there complaining all the time on the news and yelling at people, and I'm like, you guys need more progesterone because you're always mad and always irritable and have so much anxiety. Go look at your progesterone. So testosterone, people think it's just for men. I don't know how many times I've heard women say, oh, I can't get on testosterone, it's for men. It's so not. So you need progesterone for your libido, but you also need testosterone for your libido. And it's important to have the right level of testosterone. Now, you're not going to be on as much testosterone as your partner, but it's needed for you to make sure that you have muscle mass, that you can have motivation, and it also increases sensitivity, ladies. So sometimes you get sensitive, you can fantasize about things. And it'll give you confidence that you may not have. Testosterone is a really good hormone. And here's the thing, the biggest thing, beyond sex. We need muscle mass because every year we lose muscle mass. After we turn, I think it's like 25, we start losing muscle mass. And if we're not lifting weights, if we're not exercising, we're going to lose muscle mass, but we need testosterone to put it on. And it also adds to our bone strength. Testosterone's super crucial, and our testosterone peaks in our 20s. So after that, it starts to decline. And as the testosterone declines, so does our muscle mass. And by the time we hit menopause, and I think this is the biggest thing, why a lot of women no longer desire sex during menopause. By the time we hit menopause, 50 to 70% of our testosterone is gone. For men, it's about 30% by the time they hit menopause, as they call it. But for women, it's 50 to 70%, and most doctors won't even test you for it. Most of your OBGYNs or your regular doctors, they won't test you for it. And if you've lost 70% of your testosterone and your bones start to get weak and you start breaking bones or hips, it's going to decrease your lifespan. Testosterone you need to keep your muscle mass going. So I think it's one of the crucial ones, just as crucial as estrogen and progesterone. Now be careful with the estrogen. Don't overdo the estrogen because you don't want too much estrogen as well, because you can push yourself back into a period status. Be careful with the estrogen. It actually happened to me. I had too much estrogen when we were balancing my hormones and my period started again. So just realize that can happen. But hormones affect your arousal. If your testosterone is low, you're not going to have as much blood flow down to your lady parts. When that happens, you're not going to get aroused. Arousal is crucial for orgasms, as we all know. Then also everything, the sensitivity down there will decline. Your orgasms you may have less orgasms. You may only have one orgasm or two orgasms, whereas you used to have 3 or 4 during a sexual encounter. Or maybe you don't have any. Realize that your hormones do matter. It also changes the way your brain signals down there. It all matters with testosterone. Make sure that you keep your mindset around your hormones, but keep them in balance. Balance for you may be different than balance for me. That's why it's important to start during perimenopause, because perimenopause is about 10 years before menopause. And that's when the hormonal chaos actually begins. And once that chaos begins, you have to quickly get your hormones back in balance. Because by the time you're postmenopausal, you may have lost your desire completely. And it can be very hard to come back. If you're postmenopausal, and you lose all your desire, you may not get it back. And I know a lot of women that are in their 50s and 60s and 70s, and they're like, they don't want to have sex anymore. And a lot of it, I think, is due to their hormones. They got a lot of UTIs because their estrogen was too low. Then their desire went down because their progesterone and their testosterone was too low. So if that happens to you and you lose your desire and your libido, you lose your sexual health. Sexual health is very important. It gives you joy, happiness, release. Otherwise, you get pent up. Realize that you need to balance your hormones in perimenopause. It also helps maintain the tissue health as well. The hormones do. You need to keep it active. I know a lot of people say, oh, I haven't had sex in so long, I have cobwebs down there. There's no truth to that, but at some point, the tissue will get more brittle. So make sure that you keep your libido, you keep your hormones up, and you do have regular sexual encounters if you are in a relationship. But don't ignore the symptoms, because the symptoms show us there's a problem. A lot of people say, oh, I'm just aging, or maybe I'm just sad and depressed. They don't realize the reality is you're not sad, depressed. You're not lost. Your hormones are just really out of whack. Menopause is not the problem. Sometimes it's just unmanaged perimenopause that is. Get that in check as quickly as you can. And then talk to your men because men need their testosterone too. And they lose about a percentage of testosterone every year after the age of 30. So if you have a 50-year-old man, he's lost 20%. If you have a 60-year-old man, he's lost 30%. So realize that losing their testosterone is going to affect them. Their libido will go down. They're going to have erectile issues. They may not be able to keep a hard on. They may have fatigue. They may be tired. You see them falling asleep in chairs and recliners and all the time. That's a fatigue related to low testosterone. And then they may get depressed and sad because their manliness is going down and their mood has shifted because of the lack of testosterone. And they have less confidence. They have confidence in their sexual well-being. They have less confidence in their who they are. But Viagra doesn't fix it. And a lot of people say, oh, I'll just go get some Viagra. Viagra doesn't fix it. All that does is increase blood flow. It does not increase desire. If the desire is not there, they're still not going to want to have sex. If they don't fix the testosterone deficiency, they're going to have muscle mass loss. They're going to have muscle wasting, and then they're going to be depressed and sad. And they may have erectile dysfunction. But once you get your testosterone optimized, and then you support it with DHEA, DHEA is a good support because that helps balance your hormones. Then for men as well, they should get their thyroid checked and their cortisol checked because a lot of men, their thyroid and their cortisol levels are out of whack in their 40s and 50s. And that stress can affect all the hormones. It can affect their weight gain. You see a lot of dad bods out there where men are gaining weight around the middle, and it's because they have high cortisol levels. And then women, we need to help our men along this journey because a lot of men don't like to go to the doctor. That's the truth. Women, we get started when we're younger. We do our annuals with our OBGYN. When we hit 40, we're doing our mammograms. Men tend to avoid it. They may only go every 5 years or so. I've seen it happen more often than not. So you got to help men normalize that, this is part of life. It's normal. It's a normal decline that we can fix, but you're going to have to go to the doctor on a regular basis and get your hormones checked. Because women, we're going to notice the changes before they do because a lot of times men don't pay attention to their bodies. They don't pay attention to what's going on. And we have to make it about health for them, not sexual performance. Say, look, honey, you got to keep your muscle mass up, or you're going to start to decline. You got to keep your mental acuity up or you're going to start to decline. And men will get brain fog and they won't remember stuff and their memories will start to decline when they have low testosterone. Some people think, oh, I'm getting early onset Alzheimer's, but it may just be a hormonal issue. If they want to live a long and healthy and vital life, they're going to have to work on their hormones too. And if you do an appointment together with the functional doctor, they can work on both of you at the same time. So your sex hormones not only affect your sexual habits and your libido and your sexual desire and your dryness and wetness, it also affects your brain health. It affects your mood on so many levels. I know so many people that have imbalanced hormones and they are depressed, they have anxiety, they're anxious, they forget things. Remember, these sex hormones also affect your daily motivation to get stuff done. If you have no motivation, you feel lost, you're unhappy, maybe it's not the job, maybe it's your sex hormones. And then on top of it, you've got muscle wasting and bone density loss if you don't have good sex hormones, which could, lead to osteoporosis and you could be hunched over or you can't build muscle mass. Now, granted, you're not going to just take the sex hormones and become a bodybuilder. You got to lift the weights too. But you need the hormones in order to maintain the muscle mass. Then your cardiovascular health is important too. Your cardiovascular health for your heart is affected by hormones. And your cognitive clarity, how you can talk to people. You have a lot of men in their 40s and 50s that are saying, oh, I don't remember you doing that, or oh, I don't remember doing that, or I don't remember eating that, or I don't remember saying that. Some of it is hormonal. And it's one of the first signs that they're having a lot of hormonal. Now, I get it, ladies. You're probably thinking, my guy says that all the time and always says he doesn't. And you think it's because he's not listening to you. It may very well be a cognitive decline due to lack of hormones. So just remember that. They're not ignoring you. They just don't remember because of their hormones. Things aren't registering right. Because beyond the brain fog, it can cause severe depression if your hormones are off. Anxiety, insulin resistance, that happens to men and women. And there's a lot of women gain a lot of weight when their hormones decline. So the hormone balance is super crucial. And later in life, if you don't fix it when you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, by the time you're 70 or 80, you're hunched over, you're frail, and you break a hip. So don't be that person. I want you to live a long, strong, healthy life where you can take care of yourself. And the hormones seem to be the key to one of the components to make sure that happens. And then there's a hormone balance, because a hormone balance, once you get level, you're going to have a better quality of life, not just quantity. The life you live is going to be much happier and healthier. And you may stave off some diseases that you might have had earlier. You may not have high blood pressure. You may not have high cholesterol because you've got heart health. Your cardiovascular health goes up with the correct hormones. Your sexual desire stays high. Your marriage is happier. Your relationships are happier. And if you have sexual desire, it's a sign you have vitality in your life, that you're strong inside. It's not a luxury. It's a must. It's a must in life. Now, when you go to get a doctor, this is important because you need to advocate for yourself. And a lot of, again, primary care physicians and OBGYNs, they don't do hormone analysis in detail. Most of the doctors are functional medicine doctors. Now, you can find it sometimes in integrative physicians. They will do it as well. But if you're going to your gynecologist, they have to be a hormone literate gynecologist that specializes in hormones. If they're not, I don't recommend gynecologists. And then there's also endocrinologists who treat symptoms, but they're just more lab ranges. I would think the functional medicine and the integrative doctors are your two best options. And make sure that you ask for a comprehensive medical panel or blood panel for your hormones. You need to test your estradiol. Sometimes they do a spit test. Sometimes they do a blood test. Heck, sometimes there's even a urine test for some of this stuff, but you need to get a panel done for estradiol, progesterone, testosterone. HEA is important too. That's a balancer, a hormonal balancer. Cortisol and thyroid, check them all. Because if your labs are normal but your systems persist, there may be something off, or maybe you're not in the normal range. And that's why seeing a specialist and getting your hormones run early and then checked again later on is important. Because if you go to a doctor and they say, we're not going to talk to you about doing your hormones, it's a red flag. If they say, we don't want to run testosterone for you because you're a woman, huge red flag. Because they don't understand hormones. If they don't understand testosterone, that's so important for women. Because one size doesn't fit all, and each woman is different. You need to make sure you go to a specialist, a doctor that's going to actually address your issues. Let's talk a little bit about a couple alternatives to hormones. So black ginger is one of them. Black ginger for men, it's going to help with circulation, and it's for both men and women. It's going to help your libido. Black ginger is becoming more and more popular. It was started in Thailand is where the popularity of it came from, I believe, but it's growing in popularity, and it can also help with erectile function, but it does take a while to build up in your system. Maca root is a good one, too. It's a big one because desire and it causes energy, and if you're having libido issues as well, maca root might be something you take in a tea form. There's a lot of ways to take some of these supplements that can help with your libido, that can help with your energy levels, and a lot of these you can take as well as while you're on hormone therapy, okay? And these are non-HRT. So remember, a lot of the natural stuff you're going to have to take over time. And female hormonal support, if you take Shatavari, that's really good for your hormonal support if you're a woman. Now, there's a lot of hormonal supplements out there. Not all are created equal, so do your homework. But there's a lot of balancing female supplements that you can start there if you're younger. But I still recommend you get a baseline of where your hormones are so you can keep an eye on it. And then for both men and women, Tribulus is good for your libido, especially if you're finding that you have really low libido. Tribulus is great for that for both men and women. And everybody should be making sure their zinc and magnesium are balanced. Zinc and magnesium are crucial. Now, don't take too much zinc, and magnesium is crucial to so many bodily functions and hormone synthesis. So make sure your magnesium, you can also check that when you check your hormones as well as your vitamin D. Very important. And then omega-3s will help with inflammation and blood flow. Omega-3s, as we get older, they're kind of a requirement. I think they used to be a luxury, but now it's becoming more and more a requirement as you get older if you want to have any type of longevity. So if you like tea, I know I'm a big tea drinker at night, but spearmint helps your hormonal balance. Red clover is phytoestrogen. So there's different types of teas that will help. Ginger and cinnamon helps with circulation, as well as the cinnamon helps with a little bit of fat loss. And then ashwagandha is good for men and women. It's a good cortisol balancer and a stress reliever. And a lot of people are taking ashwagandha in supplement form as well as teas now. So there is a lot of alternatives, but natural does not mean it's weak either. So don't overdo it. Don't say, I'm going to have ashwagandha 10 times a day and then wonder why, you're sleeping because your cortisol is way out of balance now. or you do too much spearmint and your hormones get out of balance. You have to check your own hormones too. If you're going to go the natural route 100%, keep an eye on your hormones naturally. Supplements support, but they're not a good replacement if you have a severe deficiency, especially if you're getting older. Some people's hormones drop faster than others. Don't expect that these supplements are going to completely replace your need for testosterone, etc. Your sexual health is not optional. Your sexual health is important for your vitality, is your physical health and your nutritional health. And the sexual health is very, very important. Hormones are not just about sex. They're about how alive you feel in your body. You need to advocate for yourself and include your partner through all this, but get educated. Start early and get educated. If you're educated about this, you should have a much longer, much healthier, much happier life. But don't accept that decline is how it is, because I think that's changing. I think we're all now looking and saying, oh my gosh, I can live well into my 50s. I can live well into my 60s. I can be a bodybuilder. I have a bodybuilder friend that I had on the podcast that was 69 and she started bodybuilding, 73 or 74 now. She looks amazing. She looks better than a lot of 20-year-olds. Realize that you don't have to accept decline as part of your life. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I think I've described a lot. This is going to give you a lot to think about. Hopefully you took notes on this one. And I wish you the best. We'll keep covering hormones here and there, but this will give you a good outline or a framework that you can build upon and that you can grow upon and get the lifestyle that you need in order to survive and thrive your entire life. This is Diva Mia. Hope you have a wonderful week. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment. We love hearing from you. Visit thedivadetails.com to connect. See you next week for more.
Diva Details podcast and website are intended solely for informational and entertainment purposes. The content provided does not constitute professional, medical, financial, or legal advice. We are not licensed medical practitioners, financial advisors, or legal professionals. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Any financial topics discussed are based on personal opinions and experience and should not be considered professional advice. The content provided does not constitute legal advice. The Diva Details and its affiliate contributor and guests are not liable for any losses or damages arising from the use of our content. The opinions expressed in the podcast are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of any affiliated organization, sponsors, or partner. All facts discussed in the podcast are researched and accurate to the best of our knowledge at the time of recording. Information may change over time. No guarantees are made regarding the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any statements or opinions presented. It is the responsibility of the listener to verify any and all facts that may influence their decision. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice.